Hi and welcome back. This is the series where I get my shit together before I'm 30, and in the last episode we talked about why I'm doing it, and in this episode we are going to do a full and probably uncomfortable life audit. The goal here is to figure out who I am and then who I want to become and where the commonalities are, but also if there's any glaring issues. Like if I want to be like an absolute athlete, that's probably going to be way harder for me because I've come from a very sedentary lifestyle. We're not going to do that. This also isn't a checklist exercise. My goal is to find things I can fix with small habits and small changes. The key thing here is like having a direction to move in rather than being perfect at exactly what I want to do. Whilst the goal is to kind of get my shit together before 30, I don't need to be perfect before 30. I just need to know where I'm heading. And the key thing is I'm not trying to be a completely different person. I want to still be me, but I want to be intentional. So instead of, for example, like spending my weekends home all the time, I do want to actually go out and do things, whether that is with friends and family or whether that's doing solo artist dates or I'm going to galleries and museums and doing fun things like that, and like actually like finding things that inspire me rather than rotting in bed all weekend. So I do have some prompts that I found online and I'm going to go through them. I'll put them on screen as I go through them. I was going to do this on my PC, but my boyfriend has unplugged all my stuff to plug into his PC and I can't be bothered to mess with that. So I have my laptop at my desk and I have a brand new notebook which we're going to write down longhand what we're doing, because the key thing for me is to do it longhand is that I feel like I'm more in tune with what I'm writing down than if I'm typing. Sometimes I find typing to be quite difficult when it's things like this. I also find that typing, if I'm on my laptop specifically and I'm like not just like looking at a list, I will get distracted. An email will come in or a notification will pop up, and the key thing here is to just sit down and do it. So that's where we're at today. So the first thing, we do have a few different areas and tell you what the areas are so that you guys know, but I will also put it in the description below with timestamps if you want to skip to specific elements. Okay, so the first place we're starting is daily routines. By daily routines I mean morning and evening routines which happen every day regardless, and then weekday where I'm working, and weekend routines which are slightly different, and just figuring out what I currently do a lot and what I want to do, like what is my ideal routine for both a weekday and a weekend, including a morning and evening routine that helps me be me. On who am I now, what does a real weekday morning look like and how does this compare to weekends? Interesting. So on the weekdays, I always wake up late currently. It is winter and I do find in winter I'm a lot worse at this than in summer. So this might change in a few months anyway, naturally. I like getting sunlight and I like feeling warm, and at the moment it's cold and it's normally grey and wet because I'm in London, and yeah, so I just don't get up. I wake up late, and by late I don't mean late, I mean I wake up 30 minutes before I'm meant to be working, and therefore I don't do anything before work. I literally roll out of bed, normally pull some clothes on, grab a coffee, and then I'm immediately working, which I know is bad for me, but that's what I do. We're being really honest here. And then how this compares on weekends. I actually am really good on a weekend in that my alarm goes off, by the way, at 7 a.m. every single day. And every single weekday, I don't do anything with that alarm. Like I turn it off and then I stay in bed because it's nice and warm and cozy. On the weekend, I do actually get up and do something, which is really funny because I don't really have things to do on the weekend. But on an example here is on Saturday, I'd booked to go to the photographer's gallery, which I was really looking forward to, and instead of like getting up early because I had something to do, my body was just like, no, we're staying in bed. So I actually got up last minute for that as well. And then on Sunday I woke up naturally and I got up naturally at 8 a.m. and I just started my day because I had nothing else to do. So yeah, my weekends are I'm normally more productive when I'm not doing anything, basically. One of the prompts is, how often do mornings feel rushed, reactive or foggy? And I'm not a morning person, so most mornings I feel quite foggy. I struggle to wake myself up, and therefore if I do have to do something like I'm going out or I need to go into the office, I don't know my current role, but in my last role I did, I do often feel rushed and quite reactive, like I'm just reacting to everything happening rather than having like an actual routine and habits that I've got locked down. So yeah, I feel foggy most days. I feel tired most days, even though I've slept like enough. So yeah, I feel foggy. I wouldn't say I feel rushed most of the time because I do work from home and I start at 9:30 instead of 9 or earlier. So I don't feel rushed because I do have like quite a late wake up time, especially compared to my boyfriend who has to be in the office for 8. So he gets up at like 6 before me. So yeah, that is one other point. The next who I am now is skipping straight ahead to the evening, which I don't know if I like that. I might skip that in the end. How do I normally see my weekdays? Weekdays, obviously work related. I work 5 days a week full time. So I do struggle with working full time and also doing everything else in my life. So currently I wake up late on a weekday. I will do my full day of work where I don't really take the breaks I need. Like I rarely take lunch for me. I'll normally eat with my laptop next to me and then I finish at 6. So it's quite a long day by 6 o'clock. Normally it's, especially now it's winter, you can see it's dark out. It's dark, it's cold. I'm normally quite comfortable in my blanket by that point. I work from my sofa and I don't do a lot. So at the end of the day, I'm like, what do I want to do? And it is really just scroll on my phone, watch TV, and usually I don't even want to like cook. And that's how tired I am. So that is a key one for me. I need to figure out how to not feel tired after a day of work. And then on a weekend, it's slightly different every weekend, obviously, because it depends if I have plans, what those plans are. But in 2026 so far, I've been very good at trying to get out of the house. I try to get out of the house at least once a week, where I'm actually like, not just like walking to the shop, where I'm actually like leaving to go and do something, whether that's a gallery visit, a theatre trip, seeing friends, seeing my boyfriend, just anything that gets me out of the house. And I think I've been really good at it in January. I think most weekends I at least left the house on one day, or I had friends over or something like that. So I think I am already getting better at that. But honestly, the key thing for weekends is I used to just spend them rotting all day for both days. I always mean to do a cleaning session on Saturday morning. I don't always do it, so let me do that. And I know a lot of people do like Sunday resets, but I feel like I try to do it on the Saturday so that I can rest on the Sunday. I'm big into resting and sleeping. I don't always do it. That's the key thing. So then on the weekend, it's normally focused around chores or going out, basically. Doing all my leisurely stuff, but also cleaning the house. And I think that is a big issue where I need to spread out my cleaning tasks so I'm not doing them all at once and feel exhausted. But then I'm also doing that with going and doing things. Like I can go and do things most days of the week depending on what I'm doing. So see what's doing. Oh, and then the next question is actually like, what do weekends feel like, restful or stressful? And mostly restful. Like compared to my job, my weekends are very restful. I focus on resting on those 2 days. It's very different. In my new job, I feel a lot more rested anyway. In previous jobs, I was very stressed. So on the jobs where I was really stressed, what I would do is I would work really long hours in the week. I'd tire myself and burn myself out, and then I would spend the 2 days of trying to rest to make up for it. But then I wasn't fully rested when it came to the Monday, and then I would do the same thing again. And that's like being completely honest. I don't think that's a good thing to do. And in my new job, I've tried to really focus on having balance, not doing long hours. I try not to ever work past my hours unless it's like absolutely necessary, in which case I also take time back. My boss is quite good. But yeah, my weekends feel restful anyway. They're meant to be restful. That's what I try to do. Even if it is I'm going out to, like, the last weekend I went to the photographer's gallery whilst it was getting out of the house, and there was a lot of kind of running for trains involved, it was restful because I was trying to like rest my brain. I wasn't just like bed rotting and watching TV. I was actually going out and being inspired, and it's a different kind of rest. And it's the same as like going to see friends and having that kind of rest. I think they have like actual names for those kinds of rests that's different than like sleeping. If I find it, I'll put them on the screen or something. But yeah, that's a key thing for me, is like I need to do more kinds of rest, not just... And then we'll go to the evening because I feel like it's easier now. How consistent is my evening wind down? I don't have any consistency with evenings apart from I read before bed. No matter what time it is that I go to bed, I will read on my Kindle in bed, normally until I fall asleep. The consistency isn't there, so sometimes I will be in bed by like 9 and I might be like doing my skincare or my nails or any of the millions of self-care tasks that people say to do, and then I will go and do like, I'll read my book or I'll watch a YouTube video in bed. Like it's always different depending on my mood. But then I also have my boyfriend who works quite late. He does 12-hour shifts, so sometimes he gets home at 8, which means in order to see him we both stay up later so that we can see each other, and therefore I don't really have like the hours of wind down I do on nights where I'm alone. So it's always very inconsistent. So that's one thing. I need to be consistent with my wind downs. I don't know how easy that's going to be. I also, again with my boyfriend having late shifts, I eat at very different times in the evening. So sometimes I'll eat at like 5-6 o'clock, sometimes it'll be 8, 9, 10, depending on what's going on. And I think that's probably also another habit like that I need to figure out how to fix that. Speaking of habits and eating, another thing I don't do is I don't really eat breakfast. I eat lunch at around 12 or 1 every day, and that is quite consistent because by that time I am quite hungry. But yeah, I don't eat breakfast, and the reason I don't eat breakfast is because whenever I eat breakfast I either feel really nauseous or I'm like ravenous by lunchtime. And I find that I tried this a few years ago. I personally don't like eating breakfast, and I know people will say that I should eat it, but I found that when I was eating breakfast, what I was doing was I would eat breakfast and then I would eat lunch as prepared, like whatever I'd picked out for that day, and then by like dinner time I was so hungry, but I was so hungry for like anything that wasn't good for me. So I found that not eating breakfast actually helped me stick to, I guess, the calories I was meant to be eating, and also eating healthier because I wasn't like craving anything sugary or anything like processed, which is really weird. And I had this same issue no matter what I was eating. I tried like just having toast or cereal, like basics. I tried granola, I tried yogurts, I tried overnight oats, I even tried like eggs. I had scrambled eggs for a few weeks. It was still the same. And I know people are probably going to say you need protein or fibre or anything, but it's just, I'm not going to cook in the morning, so it's got to be easy. And I know me, I'm not even getting up now, so I'm not going to get up to cook when I don't even like cooking. So it's quite a weird one. We probably need to fix my eating habits. And then the next few prompts, who I want to become. The first one is, what do I want mornings to feel like? And I personally want to feel like, wake up and feel like I'm ready to be good. I don't know if I want to feel energetic. I feel like I'm not an energetic person generally, but I do want to feel productive. Like I want to be able to get up and just crack on with my to-do list, whatever that is. And that includes like just get on with like putting the laundry in the washing bin, or if I need to take the bins out, or I need to clean the kitchen, like all of those little tasks which are quite little. I wish I could just get up and do that in the morning before I start work, but currently I feel so tired that I can't do that. I also want to make sure I do like my skincare routine, and then the usual like getting dressed, like actually putting clothes on, brushing my hair, brushing my teeth. One of the big things for me is like I don't like to shower when it's cold because my bathroom doesn't have a radiator in it, so I need to really like push myself through to like have showers in the evening when the bathroom has warmed up from the heat from the rest of the house, instead of in the morning when it's really cold. And I do know some people are gonna say I should shower in the morning because it will wake me up more for the day, but even just having a shower, I find hard to like force myself to do that when I'm in the morning and I'm grouchy and I'm foggy. And for me, it's better for me to do it in the evening, and then I can also like dry my hair before bed, and like that can be part of my evening wind down, I hope. So I'm hoping that helps. The next question is, what does a supportive evening routine look like? And actually, as I said, I read before bed every day, so I feel like my evening routine is quite good already. So I definitely would be reading before bed. I've actually kind of tricked my brain into knowing that when I'm reading my Kindle I fall asleep. So actually sometimes what happens is I'll start reading my Kindle any other time and then I fall asleep as well. So it's helped me read a lot more of my physical books this year, or this last 2 years, because I've trained my brain to do this. But I probably should also read my Kindle more in the day, so it's not, I don't know if I like the fact that I've trained my brain to do that. It's good because it means that I do fall asleep. You'll often see in my reading roundups that I read like 4 pages of my digital books and then I'm asleep. So it's like 4 pages a day, and it takes me a while to get through digital books now, but we'll see how that goes. I do need to be better at like putting on proper pajamas, not just like the random t-shirt in my wardrobe, and then prepping myself for bed with like doing the skincare, brushing my hair. I think that's the key one. Like my hair's quite fine, it gets quite knotty when I sleep, so just brushing it before I go to bed is easier. And then also if I'm washing my hair before bed, that also helps. And then one of the things I really want to do more is like take better care of my nails. I don't know if you can see on the camera, they are quite long, and I think you can see on my other hand, especially these two. I snapped these two this week, and I just need to get better at making sure they're like filed and putting on like strengthening treatment. I have it all in my room, I just forget to use it, and then when my nails snap off I'm like, oh, I wonder why, and it's because I haven't done anything with them and they've just gotten weak over time and water and things like that. What do I want to do on weekends instead of feeling guilty or overwhelmed? So on the weekends I want to feel like I'm still being productive. My brain doesn't really turn off, so I'm sure other people are gonna relate to that. So my key thing is I want to still be productive on the weekend. I don't want to just do nothing, because the worst thing that was happening to me when I was rutting all weekend was that I would go back to work on a Monday, and then it would take me most of Monday to like fully get back into like doing things, whereas now I really want to like focus on doing things that like rest and reset me, like, but creatively and productively, and therefore on Monday hopefully I'll be a bit more on it and I won't need like the whole day to like warm up. I'll just need maybe like an hour hopefully, or 2. Yeah, that's one of the things. I often feel guilty when I don't clean the house, and this did get better. I did get a cleaner for a bit before I got made redundant, so I might get a cleaner again just to fix that, because then I won't feel guilty. Or I need to put a process in place where I'm actually cleaning more than what I do now, or like smaller actions throughout the week rather than all at once on a Saturday, and then feeling bad that I haven't done everything on the Saturday that I wanted to. On the Sunday, I don't feel like I have like a bad Sunday. I don't get the Sunday scaries like other people do, mostly because I'm in a new job. Like it's a lot easier now and I enjoy my role. When do I feel overwhelmed? I feel overwhelmed when I have too much on my to-do list, which is often things that I've said I'm going to do in the week and then I've just left them to the weekend. So I need to be better at that. And I guess that comes with kind of the cleaning everything like throughout the week rather than in one go. It's things like filming though, because I find that I am filming this in the dark, but I don't know if I like this setup. I don't know if I like the lighting. I much prefer filming in daylight, and I prefer taking photos for like Instagram in daylight. So a lot of the content creation stuff gets left to the weekend, and then I don't do it all, and then I feel overwhelmed because I haven't done it. And it's a really bad cycle, because also like a lot of my content creation work is just for me. Like I'm not being, I guess, judged on it by like a boss or a manager like at work, and I should feel like I have a bit more freedom with it, but I do worry of the inconsistency and like how that affects me. It's quite bad. And then for my prompts, the next couple are a bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to use contrasting. So we're going to actively go what my mornings are like, what my mornings should be, and then we also then pick a direction. So how are we going to actively change the direction of those things? So we're going to do this for like morning routine, evening routine. I think maybe eating habits would be a good one. Cleaning routine, and then weekend routine. I don't know if I can't really change my weekday routine apart from like my mornings and evenings because work is the same every day, but maybe I will do a lunch routine where I actually get away from the laptop for my lunch break. That might be a good section. So for mornings, currently I wake up late. I feel foggy, I don't feel energized. There's lots of different things for that. I think some of it is health related, so it's not going to be like perfect, but there are things you can do. And the key one for me is like, I do want to get up at 7 a.m. I need to get up with my alarm. And the key thing for that is I can get up at 7 a.m. The direction here is I don't have to do anything at 7 a.m. I just need to get up, and I can get up and I can go sit on my sofa, or I can get up and go sit at my desk and I can read a book, or I can watch YouTube or watch TV, and I can do all those things that like, I can do any of the things that aren't good for me for the first few months. And then we're going to relook at the direction and see how I feel by like 9 o'clock. If by 9 o'clock I'm now fully awake and ready for the day, that's great, because then I still got half an hour before work and I can like clean the kitchen or do other odd tasks. But I just need to work my way up to actually waking up at that time. The key trigger here is 7 a.m. alarm. I get out of bed. I do not stay in bed. And currently one of the issues I do have is that I do often stay in bed. Even if I wake up, I will read in bed or I'll be on my phone in bed, and I think that probably doesn't help my brain wake up the way it should. One of the things I do, which is a good habit, is I do always open the curtains. So when eventually there is sunlight in this part of the world, I will get sunlight in the morning. Currently that's not the case. It's really grey and miserable. That's probably not helping the mood. But yeah, open the curtains. My other thing for the morning is to drink water. I always have water by my bed. So I will already be doing that quite well. Then for the evening, my key thing is I do still want to read before bed. I need to like do a full wind down, like skincare, brush teeth, and I need to make it functional. So I think I need to either move my skincare into my bathroom, or I need to put everything I need after I brush my teeth on my vanity so that I do it one by one. Cool. I'm not going to change much about my evening routine because I still need to work around other things like going out with friends, my boyfriend's timetable, etc. So we're gonna not do too much to that, other than that I need to make it more functional so that I definitely do my skincare every single day, because currently like sometimes what I do is I have functionally made it easy for me, which is I put my big tub of, I use Moisture Surge Clinique, I put it right next to my bed so I can get into bed and I can put it on my face in bed, and that's great, but it's not my full routine. So in order to do my full routine, I need to make it more functional so I can easily do it, like when I'm really tired and I do it from bed. So yeah, we need to work on that. Then we have eating habits, and my eating habits aren't bad. My key one is I need to eat less takeaways. And the reason why I eat takeaways is because I'm really lazy and I don't like to cook. So meal prepping is the thing here, and planning. So if I know I'm going to have a really busy week, I can buy in ready meals and things that aren't good for me because they're going to be better than having takeouts on those days. And then meal prep and planning will allow me to cook less in the week, which is when I don't do it the most. I'm actually quite good at cooking on the weekend because I have time. So the key here I think is Fridays I plan, and then Saturday, Sunday I prep. Key thing. Cleaning routine, I've already said this a lot, so we know what that's going to be, which is I need to clean throughout the week. So functionally, how I'm going to do this is I'm going to write down all the tasks I need to do on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, probably on a daily basis as well, for things like the kitchen, and then I'm going to do that off screen, and then I'm going to allocate the days that I do them on. So for example, on a Monday I will change the bedding, on a Tuesday I will fully clean the kitchen, including floors and sides and stuff. On a Wednesday is normally my go out day, so I won't plan anything on a Wednesday because I know that's when I book things to do. Thursdays can be like maybe hoover or mop or both. And then Fridays, I think Fridays are still going to be a keep clear day because that's normally date night. And then I can still do things on Saturday when I think of all the tasks I need to do. My weekend routine, I don't want a weekend routine. I think I want to remove cleaning as a block of things that I feel bad about not doing. I want to do something out of the house. And actually one of the key things, which I've not talked about at all, is I need to exercise on the weekends, because one, I need to actually move and do something, because I'm sat down a lot at work all the time in the week, but also I hate working out after work. So weekends are the time to do it. So if I exercise early weekend, I've done it, I feel productive, and hopefully I'll feel like I've achieved something, and then I can go and do other things on the weekend and not feel guilty about it. And then a lunch routine. For my lunch routine, I just want to get away from laptop. Obviously, I need to eat in that time, but I could also do like one thing around the house, or I could exercise at lunch, which I have done a couple of times since January 1st, but I do find that I get caught up in like messages, so I don't do it, and then I don't want to leave my laptop, and I just need to do it. Cool. So the things that I'm going to be adding are getting up at 7 a.m. and that's getting up by getting out of bed, not just waking up. I'm going to make a more functional kind of wind down routine by making my vanity more functional rather than making it tidy. I'm going to eat less takeouts. That's one of the things I need to do less of, but I'm going to meal prep, meal plan in an easier way. Like, I don't want to make every single meal, but having veg there to put with rice or pasta or something would be great. I'm going to remove cleaning from my weekend routine. I'm going to make a cleaning routine separately so that I actually do it, and if that fails, I'm going to get a cleaner again, because I now have a job and I can afford my cleaner again. My weekend routine, one of the things is I want to get out of the house at least one of the days, and then I also want to exercise at least one of the days. Could be both for both of them, could be just one of them, but we're going to figure it out. And then for my lunch routine in the weekdays, I want to get away from my laptop. I want to eat, but I also want to do something not at my laptop, either wash the dishes, it could be reading a book in bed. I can go back to bed at that point, or exercise, or do something functional with fitness. And yeah, those are that's only the first section. That's quite a long section, but my camera's actually flashing at me. So what I'm going to do is, because it's been a long time already, I'm going to go charge my camera and then I'm going to film the rest of this tomorrow. So this video is going to go out late, I'm sorry. But yeah, I will catch you in a few minutes. Sorry. Okay, so I had to go charge my camera. It's day 2, I'm now just carrying on. I might just do a little bit a day and then not do this all at once. It might be a little bit better for my energy, which is a nice segue into energy and time. This is a little bit different to routines and habits because it's specifically about how my body uses energy compared to like just picking a routine and going with it, and how using that energy is different for everyone. So I'm just gonna go through like who I am now and how I like do things, and then we're gonna think about who I want to be and how I can improve that. There are some things like health conditions that do help or hinder this, so there aren't things that I'm going to be able to fix 100%, but there are ways I can improve how I deal with things. So the first prompt is, when do I feel most drained during the week? So I definitely feel the most drained after work, so right about this time on a normal day. My job itself is quite a heavy mental load. I work in marketing and I do a lot of projects all at once. So it's quite a heavy mental load. So after work especially, I do feel very tired and like I don't really want to do anything. My brain just kind of wants to switch off, which is quite annoying when I have other things to do, but it's as expected with what I do, and I think most people in my career feel the same. When else do I feel drained? I always feel drained when I go out and I do a lot of socializing. That's not to say that I don't like socializing, it just means that if I'm going to like a big event with lots of people, I just need the next day to like decompress. Or in my previous job, whenever I'd go into the office, it was always helpful to have like the next day not in the office so that I could not feel like really overwhelmed and stressed. So yeah, it's one of those things. I'm definitely an introverted person. I definitely get my energy from being alone. And then when else do I feel drained? I guess I do feel kind of drained on the weekends if I've had a really busy week, but I think that's more to do with like figuring out how to make work less draining or to recharge after work rather than it being a weekend specific issue. So I'm gonna note it down as a maybe, but we'll see. Next one is, how often do I push through low energy days? I push through my low energy days a lot. I'm really bad at like taking a day. I'm also really bad at like taking sick days and holidays at work. So one of the key things for me here is I need to take sick holiday days to charge, because I definitely do. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I think, was it last week? I think last week I was very brain foggy all week, and I should have probably just taken like a day to like reset, because after the weekend I was feeling better, and I didn't, and I probably should have, because then I probably would have been more productive the rest of the week. And then how do I push through the energy days? I normally use coffee as a crux, so I depend on caffeine to kind of push my brain into gear. I need something to push my body into gear, I think, because caffeine doesn't really do that. And I probably need to do a bit more CBT therapy, which I did do a while back, but just trying to get my brain to feel like I've achieved something in order to do other things is one of the key things. But one of mine was specifically, again, you can't see it in this video, I'm wearing my Visible band underneath my jumper. Visible is like a kind of like a fitness tracker, except instead of trying to get you to do more, it actually tries to get you to do less, so you don't crash out. The key thing here is like it uses like heart rate monitoring and variability to monitor how you are doing in your health, and then it assigns these things called pace points to the activities you do. You input the activity specifically. Obviously it can tell if you are doing something that's raising your heart rate, but you have to still tell it what you're doing. The key thing here is like, I started using it in summer last year, and one of the patterns I really found was every time I would go into the office in my old job, I would always go really high on pace points. And that's because obviously not only am I up and about more, I'm less sedentary than I am when I'm working from home, but also like I had never felt calm in the office, so my heart rate was already like stressed just being around my co-workers, I guess, and it would always stay at like a really high rate when I was in the office. And then I would obviously like I was already in London, so I would go and do other things at lunch, and I would do things after work, and therefore I'd push myself too much, and then on the next day I'd be like working from home, but I'd be exhausted because of the day before. So that's one of the things I did learn from Visible. Another thing is just figuring out which tasks actually cause me to use more pace points. I think, let's look at my active thing. It will tell me. I haven't actually done my activities for a while, but it should tell me in activity insights for all time, and they do it by average impact, which is average pace points, and then they also do it by intensity. So if you're going to do an activity for like an hour, it would be, you know, a bit more if it was quite high impact. And yeah, intensity and impact, I'm not fully sure on the differences, but we'll go through. I think we're going to go through impact. No, we're going to go through intensity for me. So the key things for me was that things like working out, running, walking, using my exercise bike, obviously all going to be very high intensity because they're actively trying to raise my heart rate. But I also found it really interesting that showering and tidying my house were also things that raised my heart rate to a similar intensity. So you can actually shower with the Visible brand, so that I don't do it every time because I do like to charge it whilst I'm in the shower, so this might not be fully accurate, but I did think that like getting in the shower, obviously the hot water I think probably raises your heart rate, but also just like standing for a while is different than me sitting at my desk or my sofa. And then tidying house is obviously like I'm up and about, I am technically moving my body and exercising in a way, and I do try to tidy quite quickly, so that's probably why it's a bit high. But however, when I split this out with activities, I had mopping, washing dishes, hanging laundry, and cooking. These were all kind of a medium intensity. So it's not the same as cleaning my whole house, but I could do these tasks on a medium intensity day, for example. An interesting thing here is like getting on the train, doing weights instead of like a cardio workout, and even just like getting dressed and doing skincare, those tasks where I am kind of running around my room, all are also medium intensity. So those are things that I could try to do on a good day or on a bad day, but not on like a really bad day. And then one of the things that I did was also I track things like brushing my teeth at work meetings, gaming, stretching, eating is a big one, watching films and movies, and then there's coherent breathing, which is through the app. these were all low intensity. So this is just trying to tell my brain, like, yes, I don't want to go and do this right now, but it's not going to take me a lot of energy because X, Y, and Z. The key thing here is like cooking is medium intensity, but eating is low intensity. So on days where I am feeling really tired, I might not have the energy to cook, but I should still have the energy to eat. So yeah, the patterns for me are definitely like figuring my way around that. So meal prepping and planning is definitely a key one for the food thing. If I'm too tired to do like a cardio or even weights on a medium intensity, stretching or yoga should be a suitable alternative because it's a low intensity workout for me, especially if I did it for an hour. It wouldn't be super taxing. Not that I would do it for an hour, I think that's a bit much. Maybe like 30 minutes. And then things like going into the office, etc., are quite taxing for me, and therefore in my new job I don't have to do that, which is quite good already, so I don't need to work around it. But it's good to know if I ever was to have to go into London for work, I know that I need to plan my week around that instead of burning myself out in one day or 2 days. And then, do I plan my days currently around tasks or energy? Yes and no. I feel like I do sort of plan. So like I'm never gonna plan an exercise routine on the same day that I'm in the office or I'm going into London, because I know both those things are probably gonna be around the same amount of impact on me, on my energy levels. So I do sort of plan. I don't plan as much as I could. There's definitely things I could improve on, but we'll see how that goes. So a key thing for me is, what would it look like to plan for an average energy day, not your peak energy? And I think a lot of people do this kind of life audit planning and they plan for their perfect day, but they don't really take into account that every day can't be perfect because your body doesn't always allow for that to happen. If you are tired or you're sick or anything like that, you can't be 100%. You can't go and do all of your exercise routines and also do everything else you need to do in a day. So my plan here is to think about what my plan for an average day would look like. And this is similar to the routine question we asked, which is like, how would I get up and do it? I definitely think the morning routine I discussed before would be easy for this. I think getting up at a decent time every day is important, and just getting up but not having to actually do things when I get up. So I don't want to force myself to get up and like do a 5k run every morning, but I do want to get up at that time to train my brain to get up at that time. Another thing I want to make sure on my average day is that I do read every day. I do this before bed normally, but I do tend to try to read in the day as well, just because that's my main hobby. As you can tell, I really do enjoy reading, and making time for it is important. Another thing I'd love to do every day is be creative, and this might be either painting, drawing, crafting, writing, or even like content creation and editing. I think that is also a creative thing to do, and I think just being able to do something each day which allows me to be creative is good for me. There are things that I should be doing every day that I don't always do, like washing the dishes, so making sure that's like part of my average day I think is important, just to make it a habit of something we do every day. And then also things like, especially if I'm in a, I guess, depression episode, making sure that I'm like shower, skincare, brush hair, brush teeth, all of those things, because sometimes I don't always do them, especially showering. I think that's the hardest task for me. I think, as we said, it was quite a high intensity task, and I do feel that way, but just making sure that on an average day I get around it. Either maybe like we do sitting showers, or maybe we just do like a really short shower. It doesn't have to be an everything shower. Things like that I think would be good and easy amends. Who I'm becoming is definitely going to focus on rest as preventative, not reactive. So I'm going to plan in rest days specifically to do them. And as I said, I believe yesterday in my previous part, the key thing here is planning rest doesn't always have to be just sleeping or rotting. It needs to be like mind rest and like being creative, or a social rest where I'm talking to people. And there's different kinds, and I should have looked this up before I did this part, but I didn't. So it's going to be notes for me to look at a later date, but finding out different types of rest and planning them in week by week, and every week should have at least one of them at a time. I think the key one for me at the moment is definitely social rest, being around people that make me feel like I'm recharging. I work from home. I do currently live alone. My boyfriend is meant to be moving in, but he hasn't yet. So there are some days and some weeks where I just don't see people as often, and I need to fix that because I do actually like a lot of the people in my life and I should spend more time with them. And then the last prompt for becoming her is respecting limits. So how do I respect my limits even though it feels like I'm guilty for not going beyond them? That prompt was really wordy, but the key thing here is I can't do a million things in a day. Like, I just can't do them, and I need to preserve energy in order to get through the things I have to do. I can't just not work and then do only the things I want to do in a day. I have to work to pay the bills in order to do the things I want to do. So it's one of those kind of balancing acts, and I think respecting my limits is important, like not planning 5 things in one weekend, not planning multiple things a week to do it after work when I'm at my most drained. I think actively working on things like I don't need to wash the dishes today, but I do tomorrow, because today I've done meal prep, tomorrow I'll have empty dishes from when I've ate the meal prep. And then the key thing here is whether you're pushing through your limits or whether you are pacing yourself accurately. So Visible really helps me with this because I can actively measure when I've gone overboard. Let me show you what that looks like. So currently I'm actually at quite a low pace point, so I think 15. And today, I don't know if you can see it properly. Is it gonna? There we go. You can kind of see. My pace points are 3.5 out of 15 today, and that's quite average, I'd say, for me. You probably saw on the graph there was lots of smaller bars and then red bars, and the red bars were the days where I left the house and did things. And on the Wednesday I went to the theatre, and actually that was really high. It was 32 points and so I was really kind of pushing through on that day. I had to run quite a lot to make it to the theatre on time after work, which was kind of concerning. And then the other thing was there was a lot of stairs, and so by the time I actually got into my seat I was sweating anyway. So that was on me. I pushed myself too much. I should have maybe stopped to take a breath or walked slower. And then on the Saturday I went to the photographer's gallery, and then I went to the poetry pharmacy. So I didn't do a lot, but it was a lot of walking about, and I think that's mainly what did it. And then again, like, it's the running for the trains, it's feeling, I think, overwhelmed when you're in spaces or surrounded by people. I think that's another one. And then on all these other days where I worked from home, where I didn't really leave the house, it's a lot lower, and I need to really balance this out. So on days like Tuesday and Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Thursday and Friday, all of those days, they were all out of order. All of those days I could have done more and I didn't. So for example, for today, I've still got 8 pace points left. So I'm going to have to plan what I can do 8 pace points for. And therefore, I'm going to go back to my activity insights, and I can see that if I do the dishes, hang up the laundry, and then also I need to cook still this evening, I think I do all them, I'll get it up to about 5. That's still pretty low for today, so I might do some other things. Maybe I'll do some stretching, maybe I can fit in tidying the house a bit later. Obviously I'm also filming and I will be editing this content, and I feel like filming and editing is a creative reset, so that is fine. But yeah, I'm probably not going to do a run today because I did a run yesterday, and I'm probably not going to leave the house or go for a walk because it is dark already, as you can see. But there's little things like that where it's like, okay, I need to monitor that throughout the day. So maybe instead of getting it to this time tomorrow, I figure out at midday at lunch, oh, I've got loads of pace points left, maybe I should do more. But that also takes into account planning ahead. That actually points me on to my next prompt, which is overbooking or just scheduling. I think I do overbook. I overbook on certain days, and then I have really spacious timelines for the rest of the week, which is really funny. I need to do more balance. I need to book myself accurately, but also give myself space to rest in between. So for example, on Saturday I went to the photographer's gallery, so on that evening I probably shouldn't have done anything, and I didn't, and that should be how it goes, and figuring out how to fit all this in my day. And the other contrast is productive versus sustainable. And I'm definitely guilty of wanting to be productive all of the time, and that means it's not sustainable because then I crash and it's not good. So the key thing here is to book this time in and to pace myself properly so that I can be productive more often but consistently. So instead of me being really productive for like a week on end and then crashing for 2 weeks. I can be productive for all 3 weeks and get more work done in those 3 weeks than if I had just been really overly productive in the first week. And it's just about balance, really. So then the direction here is we're gonna pick a boundary about energy, 1 permission slip in order to slow down, and 1 experiment for the next month. 2 of my notes, which I might show you my notebook. My writing is really bad, so I might not. We'll see if I edit this. 1 boundary around energy is that I'm going to time block. I already time block for work, so I'm going to time block everything up. I'm going to time block outside of work as well. And I need to time block my activities, time block my rest, and then research what those different kinds of rest were. I know what they are, I just can't tell you what the names are because I've forgotten, so I will relook it up and then I'll add it on the screen or something here. And then I also need to time block things like socializing. I do need to time block things like exercise, cleaning, etc. Morning and evening routines maybe, so that I definitely do them and I like wake up and have like quite a energy reset morning or an energy reset evening to help with the energy thing. To slow down, I think the key thing, the permission to slow down thing, is that I don't need to be productive all the time. I can be really productive consistently rather than all in one go. That's the key thing for me. And I need the permission to be like, okay, well, I've done these 5 tasks. I'm going to go do something that's restorative rather than I'm going to do another 5 tasks. I guess the key thing here is I've put in a restorative action after task completion, and the key thing here is to treat myself when I do things that I'm meant to be doing. So if I do wash the dishes, do my laundry, clean the bathroom, etc., after that, that's my day done for cleaning. I don't need to like then clean the rest of the house. I can instead spend like 30 minutes on like a craft kit and get kind of creative reset, or I can call a friend and like talk to them about something, or I can watch TV in bed. Not the best thing, but sometimes it is needed. And there's these little things that I just need permission to myself to do that. And then 1 experiment for the next month is I'm probably going to do the experiment which is actually just time blocking my day. So I'm filming this section on the 10th of February and I am going to be a little bit cheeky and say I'm going to start on the 16th for time blocking, because I've already planned this week in advance not like this, and I'm going to do the 16th through to the 16th of March doing time blocks and seeing how that works for me. And then in those time blocks it's going to have things like cleaning, socializing, exercise, and I think food and meal prep. And planning is an important thing. I need to put in time to actually plan my meals. I need to put in time to prep my meals, and then I need to put in time to actually eat my meals. A good and consistent time, because currently that's not what I'm doing, which I think I said in my last section. Okay, I'm skipping straight onto the next part because I've got enough battery and I feel ready to go. And this section is about body and movement. It is focused on exercise. I'm probably not going to focus on like healthy eating in this one, but just actually moving my body. The key thing here is I'm a very sedentary person. I work from home. I spend most of my time at my desk, on the sofa, or in bed. Like there's no in between. So yeah, who am I now? And how much do I move in an average week? Not a lot. I've been trying since January to move more, to be fair, and I think last year was specifically very bad for moving. I definitely blame COVID still. Working from home and going into COVID lockdowns really made me not want to leave the house at all, and therefore I haven't really gotten back to leaving the house. I used to work 5 days a week in the office. I now work from home full time. It's very different. So yeah, I don't move at all. I'm very sedentary. The next question is how often do I leave the house actually? So the key thing here is I don't really leave the house much at all. Last year in 2025, I did 1 day a week in the office normally, and then that would be it. I wouldn't really leave the house any other day. Occasionally I'd do something on a weekend, but not often. And in 2026, outside of this series actually, like one of my key goals is just getting out of the house, and I made myself a little mood board of different galleries I want to see. I live in London, so there's lots of galleries close by, and also lots of theatre shows that I want to go see. So I have kind of prepped to at least do 2 things a month where I'm getting out of the house, but I don't do it that often. I do think so far that's been doing really well for me. I also try to see my friends like a couple of times a month as well. I have date nights with my boyfriend, and another thing
thing is I really want to travel more, so we've already booked a trip to Paris this year just for a long weekend, and that should be really nice. I've also booked a trip to York with my family, and then yeah, I'm hoping that kind of gets me out of the house more and makes me feel like I am moving more, even though it's not going to be specifically exercise. What emotions come up around exercise? So this is a big one for me. I don't like to do exercise. I feel very uncomfortable doing it. I'm not good at it. I'm very clumsy. I don't have good hand-eye coordination, so exercise in general is not a positive experience for me. And a lot of people say that when they do exercise, they get like, I think it's the endorphins, and then they feel happy afterwards. I just don't seem to get that. So my emotions are never positive. I feel really annoyed afterwards. I'm like, oh, I'm so sweaty. I don't like it. I feel uncomfortable. I just want to have a nap now. And so that's why exercise just hasn't for me. I've tried lots of different exercise. I've tried running, yoga, Pilates. I have an exercise bike in my house. I've tried doing just stretches, but after like the first few days, like I get bored with it as well, because it's like doing the same thing over and over again. I don't like anything with other people. Like I just don't. I don't even like it when my boyfriend's in the flat when I'm exercising, even if he's in a different room. So going to like a gym or a fitness class might not help me. I have done fitness classes in the past, which I've always felt like, one, I'm not fit enough to do the fitness class, which is really a struggle for me, because it's like I don't want to go back and like feel this bad again. But I've done classes that I do feel like really did work, but also they're quite far away or they're expensive, and there's things like that that kind of limit my access to them. I did one in central London once, and it took me like over an hour to get home afterwards, and the entire time I just felt horrible, like I just wanted to sit down. And then, do I associate movement with pressure or punishment? I don't know if I'd see it as a punishment, but I do see it as pressure. I feel like I'm pressured to exercise, and I do know I should, because it's good for my body as I grow older and things like that. But yeah, as I said, I don't enjoy it. I feel very unfit most of the time, even if I'm doing like easier classes. And yeah, it's not a positive experience. So one of the key things here is definitely, like, before I even move on to the who I want to become section, is I need to figure out how to make exercise a positive thing. And this is either going to contribute to positive emotions or positive outcomes. Obviously, positive outcomes is like getting personal bests or improving fitness or losing weight or feeling and looking toned, things like that, which do take longer. So the key thing for me is definitely, on the short term, is to work on the emotional side. Okay, so the questions for who I'm becoming is, how do I want to feel in my body? I want to feel fit and healthy. Like, I want to be able to go and like do a hike and not feel like I'm dying, kind of thing. I'm also, as I'm nearing 30, I'm starting to get like random body pains, like my back hurts or my knees hurt. And there's those things where I know the issue is not that they are breaking down, it's the fact that I'm not using them as much, and therefore I need to strengthen the areas around them that support them. So joints and muscles are a big one. I know as I get older they'll get worse, and therefore I need to work on them now so that I don't feel as bad later on. The next question is, what kind of movement feels supportive, not draining? I think for me the key one here is, like, I have figured out, it's not that I like doing the exercises, but I know what I'm better at. And actually I'd say the exercise bike is a really good investment because I can do it quite easily. I also find that because I am sitting down on the exercise bike, it is a lazier form of exercise than if I was to go out for a run. And then the exercise bike is a form of cardio because it is raising your heart rate, but it's gentle on my knees, my ankles, but it should be gentle on like my joints because it's not running or doing anything that's really high impact. So it should be better for me overall, I'm hoping. Other movements are, I need to stretch more. I did get the Bend app, which is really, really good. It's gonna hopefully show you. It has different routines you can do, and it does kind of gamify it. There is a streak. I'm not on a streak currently. I kind of dropped off after January, but I should get back to it because it's really good. And there you can eyebrows by area. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, I liked doing specifically things for like hips, lower back, hamstrings. All of those kind of stretches were really helpful. And that would be on my, I guess, my less than average days. I would focus on stretching rather than full exercise routines. And then on days where I do have more energy, I could do my exercise bike, or I could go for a run. Another thing is I do want to be able to run at least for a few minutes. I found at the moment I'm struggling in that I grew up where I'd be running and playing around, and then I got older and I stopped doing that, and then COVID hit, and then I just didn't really do anything for a few years. And now when I have tried to run, I'm really struggling to run for any length of time. It doesn't matter how fast or slow I run, I just can't do it properly, and therefore I need to increase that. However, running is quite draining, it's not supportive, but I'm hoping if I increase my cardio enough, that will help support me generally in my health journey. And then what does being in the world look like for me? So this is a key thing, is like sometimes I just need to get out the house, and that is maybe I need to walk down to the shop on the corner, or maybe I need to go down to the Lidl on the other corner, which is like a, I think, 25-minute walk. It's not that far, but it's just something that I don't really do. And then also going to theatres, galleries, etc., going out and doing those things that inspire me, I think are really important. And then my contrast prompts. Do I want to be stationary, or do I want to be gently active? And the key thing here is like I don't really want to be stationary. I want to increase how I'm moving. I want to maybe get up more in the day. Maybe I do set. I have on my watch, I have a Fitbit, and it does tell me every hour on the 10 to on the hour, it tells me, oh, you've not done enough steps this hour, and I ignore it every time. And I feel like, because it always tells me when I'm busy doing something anyway, but it's always interesting to note that how often it does that. So I really want to like focus on improving, just getting up and moving every hour, see if I can be a bit more active throughout the day, not just in one burst at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, or etc. Another thing is, am I avoiding movement or am I choosing it? And the key thing is I should be choosing it, because it will be good for me in the long term. And I need to use positive reinforcement on this, because I need to feel positive emotions towards getting up and moving, and not just like I don't want to move, or I want to stay under my blanket, etc. I have 3 prompts for directions, and that is to pick 1 low pressure movement habit and make it a habit, 1 reason to leave the house weekly, which I've kind of already done, and then 1 way to make movement consistent and sustainable. So for the low pressure movement habit, I'm going to say I'm going to stretch every day. The key thing here is like doing different areas each day, so it doesn't feel boring, but also so that it feels like I'm actually doing something each day and moving my body. Obviously stretching isn't like dynamic movements or anything. It's probably not going to help like my heart fitness, but it should help me in my body, and then when I do bigger workouts, I should be able to do them more easily. Whereas if I don't stretch, I'll probably start feeling a bit gross by the time I'm 40. 1 reason to leave the house weekly is going to be, I already split out at the beginning of the year, so it's quite easily for me to do this, but it's 1, I guess, artist date a month, which is a gallery visit, 1 theatre trip a month, which is just picking a show I want to go see, 1 friend date, so going to see my friends and socialising in some way, and then 1 date with my boyfriend, and we go and do something fun. And I think if January has anything to do by, I'm already doing quite well. I've actually done multiple friend dates. I've been to the theatre, once a month. I've already been in February, to be fair, and then I've already done 3 gallery visits, so I've over-indexed on gallery visits so far. So get out once a week is definitely happening. And then the last one is to make movement consistent and sustainable. And for this one, for me, is going to be, I'm going to use the Runner New to Beginners program. And the reason why I'm going to use this one is because running is the key one, because I want to improve my running speed anyway. I'm running time, even how much I can run. But it also is a really good interface where you can add in different activities as well. I think the strength training, yoga, and maybe even like a stretching section, I think. I can't quite remember, but I think that should be really helpful to kind of have a consistent plan week on week. It also does sync with my calendar, so when I'm doing the time blocking from the previous section, it will add in exercise for me, and I don't have to overthink it, and I don't have to plan that and use my mental energy on the physical energy, I can just go and do the physical energy stuff. Okay, so it's actually been a couple of days. I didn't do anything yesterday, but today we're gonna do the section for home and environment. And then I do have some prompts already. I already have some thoughts. I've already had some thoughts and also put things in my calendar to do, such as just like decluttering my wardrobe, for an example, but let's go through it together as well. Again, I've got my notebook so I'm ready. How does my space make me feel when I walk in? So currently I feel very overwhelmed. My house is very messy, so overwhelmed is a key one. My boyfriend's also recently moved in, so I think actually my boyfriend's moved in from the beginning of me starting this video to ending it. So I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed with that because it's someone in my space all the time. He was here a lot anyway, but it's very different when they actually live here. They've also got more stuff. I don't know if you can see behind me, it's a bit messy, but he's also now got his desk in here with me and it's quite crowded in this room. Thankfully he only really has his desk and PC. He didn't really have much of the furniture, as I don't think it would have fit in the flat. But yeah, I'm currently feeling quite overwhelmed in my space. I do enjoy a lot of places in my flat. I feel quite cozy and comfort when I'm in bed, when I'm in my little book nook, when it's not as messy and I can like put candles on the windowsill, and especially in my living room. I do enjoy my living room. The next prompt is important, which is what feels cluttered visually or emotionally, and most of my rooms do feel quite cluttered. My wardrobe, for starters, I've got way too many clothes, most of which I don't wear, either because they don't fit, I've gained weight since I was younger, or because I just don't like the fit or the style anymore. There's some tops that I used to wear all the time that sometimes when I put them on now, I'm like, I don't like how it looks on me now. So yeah, I need to go through and like pick out what I actually will wear versus what I'm just holding on to. Other things, my living room is quite cluttered with a lot of different stuff. I have multiple shelves and I have multiple areas to put stuff, but I still feel like I have too much. So I do need to go through, reorganize my shelves. I think reorganize my like TV area. So that's like, there's some books, DVDs, video games. I have multiple consoles. It's a lot. And then I would say, whilst my shelves do sometimes look cluttered, it's more like lack of organization than anything else. So I probably won't be doing much with books. However, I did also get rid of a lot of books at the beginning of this year, so I think I'm okay for now. So in this room particularly, it'll mostly be, you definitely can't see, there's a whole like pile of junk here that I need to go through. It's a lot of old notebooks from like university and stuff, so they're quite old, and like going through like craft supplies and stuff and getting rid of things that are out of date are also another thing I need to do. And then emotionally, I really currently hate my Gmail inbox. It's got so many emails in it. A lot of them are things that I need, like things to do with like bills and things like that, but there's a lot of newsletters, there's a lot of random emails that I just don't need to keep anymore, and I really need to cut that down to like inbox 0 because I hate even looking at it at the moment. I'm really sorry for anyone who has emailed me recently. I have not read it because every time I go on it I get so overwhelmed, especially compared to the fact that I'm in a new job. So I had a completely clean inbox when I started there, and I've kept it to inbox 0 every single week so far, and that has been great. But yeah, my personal inbox is not the one. Anything else emotionally cluttered? You know, being completely honest with you, I'm currently looking at my notes in Notion. I need to rebuild and I think delete a lot of things in Notion. I need to rebuild my actual dashboard that I use because so much of it is just like not used and I don't like going into it and like dealing with it. I currently have a space just for content creation, which is actually quite well done, but all the stuff for like my personal life is just a mess. So that's another thing that I think feels cluttered. It feels like I added a lot of things that other people said that I should add, but I don't use them, so they're not functional, or I could use them but I just don't get around to it, and then it becomes like a huge task and therefore it's just way too much. So yeah, I need to sort that out. But yeah, that's the key things for me. Like home and environment, my physical space and my digital space just need like a proper clear out. For what I want, how do I want my home to feel? I want my home to feel like cozy is the key one. And I know lots of people say like
that, but I do want it to feel cozy. I want to feel welcomed when I come home. I want to feel comfort. I know comfort and cozy are the same thing kind of, but I want to like not feel stressed in my environment. I think one of the things I need to do is I need to work at my desk more instead of in my living room, so any stress I do get from work stays in here rather than in the living room, which I spend most of my evenings in. But on the other hand, maybe it would go the other way, because then I might come into here and play games and feel stressed whilst playing it. I don't know. This is probably going to turn into more of like I'll read in here when Greg is playing video games, but I don't know if I will be. I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, one of the prompts I actually wrote before my boyfriend moved in, and it's what deserves space, especially with my boyfriend moving in. And to me, my key one is, my like one rule was like, I'm not getting rid of any of the shelves. The shelves are in. We're going to have to work around that. I will probably need to move stuff around. I had a lot of things, like I would pile things on the bed and I'd pile things on the floor, and they have been pushed onto the shelves, kind of not quite organized. In my bedroom, the key thing is like making room in the wardrobe. I have made room in my wardrobe for my boyfriend to put his clothes away. However, that means I have a huge pile of clothes that I need to sort out and find a place to live, which means I need to go into the drawers I still have and get rid of things so that more things can fit in, because there's definitely things in that pile I want to keep. I've got like pairs of jeans in there that I wear all the time, so we need to figure out like what old jumpers do I not wear anymore, what tops do I not need, is there anything that doesn't fit, is there anything that's just really old and like doesn't look its best and therefore I don't wear it, and things like that. So yeah, what deserves space is the clothes that I wear and the things that I like to do, and that includes things like my vanity with my makeup and my skincare, and making sure that there's room for his things as well on there. In my living room, my key thing in my living room is that it needs to be functional. So my sofa is opposite my TV. I need to make sure that we can see the TV well. One of the things he did point out is that the TV is placed for where I sit on the sofa. So on the side that he sits on the sofa, it's kind of at a weird angle, so we're probably going to have to redo that, maybe put the TV on a wall and like angle it, but in that case we'd probably have more space under the TV and like be able to make it look more like what we as a couple want it to look like. And then one of the last prompts is, what does cozy and comfort actually look like in my space? So the key thing for me is I need better lighting. So I don't know if you can see in here, I've got the overhead light on, I've actually got 2 lamps on behind the camera, and I do actually have, I don't know if you can actually see, I do have some like wall lamps. I have one here and I have one behind the camera as well, on kind of opposite corners of the office. And I really like this room because it has loads of different light sources and I can kind of mix and match, for example, to make it look good for the camera, or to make it good for using the PC, or for reading in by the window, night or day. And that's one of the things that I really need to do better in my other rooms of my house. I need to get more lights, I think, in the living room. I need to get a few more lights maybe in my bedroom. I've currently got ones either side of my bed and the big light, but I don't really like the big light, and the 2 little ones aren't great, especially if you're doing like makeup or skincare, because you can't really see. So I probably want to get like a light for my vanity, maybe a few more lights on my shelves on my living room, and like make it a bit more mood lighting. I have a lot of candles, but maybe we don't need more candles, maybe I just need candle-like lighting. Another thing for comfort is like, I really like having lots of cushions. I have a lot on my bed and I have a lot on the spare bed, and I have them on my living room, but making sure I have like really comfortable blankets and cushions that kind of match the overall vibe of each room is important. I have some in here that don't really match the like blue colour scheme we're going for. I have some in my bedroom, which is now green. My living room is also green, and none of it matches. But yeah, having kind of a more, everything's bought specifically for it to go together rather than it just being thrown on where it can be, just because I had them from before I lived here, is important to me. Anything else? What else feels welcoming? I need to redo my kitchen a little bit, because currently I do have like a little bar set. Well, I have a bar in my living room which has like alcohol and wine, and then I have a mini bar for like coffee, but that bar's kind of, it's got a lot of other things. It's got like the kettle, the toaster, the coffee machine, loads of hot chocolates and coffees, but it also has like, it has vegetables there because that's the only place I could put them, and I just need to rejig what my kitchen looks like, I think, to make it functional, but also kind of have that welcoming space where like I can make cups of tea and coffee and like feel good about myself. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think the main thing is just having lots of books. I want my place to feel like I live here. I need more stuff for the walls. I know exactly what I want for the picture over my bed. I've just put it off for like 3 years buying it because it's quite expensive. There's little things like I'm doing lots of crafts and I think I might put them on the wall as well, like figure out to do like a gallery wall. But I want to specifically pick pieces of art that feel true to me. A lot of things I've got up now at the moment are very much me coded. I've got Lord of the Rings in most of the rooms of the house, but I also have I want to say Charles René Mackintosh, but I don't think that's the right middle name, but I think it is Mackintosh. I've got 3 paintings, well, painting prints from him in my hallway, which I really love his artwork, and I really love these pieces because they're sentimental to me. I've got little things like you can't see, I've got a painting right up there which I painted when I was like 12, 13, like I was super young when I painted it, but it was like my first painting I did on a canvas. I've got some pieces again up here in my office which are pieces to do with my work, and therefore I want to keep going. I don't want to just buy things for the hell of it. I want to buy things that really mean something to me. When people walk in, they go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Some of the contrasting things is, one of them is storage versus intentional ownership. So there are things in my wardrobe, for example, that I don't want to get rid of or give away because they have sentimental value. I have things like my prom dress. I'm never going to be able to fit into that dress again. I'm never going to wear it, but do I store it maybe under my bed where it won't, might collect some dust, but I'll try and package it nicely. And it's the same with a lot of my books. Like a lot of them I keep specifically because I love them, but I might not be rereading them every year. And then a lot of the things with intentional ownership here is like a lot of my books on these shelves are books that I will probably be picking up more often. And then I also have around the hallway, my high shelves. I can't reach them unless I get a step stool. So the ones up there are usually the books that I really do enjoy, but I probably won't be reading at like this year. A lot of my childhood favourites, I've got things like Twilight, a lot of my kids, like the kids books like The Famous Five, The Faraway Tree, a lot of my classics are up there. And then I've also got kind of my special edition classics, which I rarely will read, but I keep them up there because they are sentimental to me because I had them when I was a child. And then I think I should probably do something about some of the other things that I might want to store. Like I have a lot of DVDs, but currently I don't watch DVDs much. There's things that I'll definitely keep a hold of for specific reasons. Like I have a Friends box set, and I know it's probably helpful that I have it now because they have taken Friends off Netflix. But for years I was just rewatching Friends on Netflix instead of watching the DVDs I own. But it's important for me to have them because if I now want to rewatch them, I have the DVDs and I don't have to go and buy them digitally again. So yeah, I need to go through what I own and be like, would I watch this again? And if I wouldn't, should I get rid of it? And it's things like, Friends DVDs, I rewatch it all the time. Lord of the Rings, I'll obviously keep those DVDs. There's some from my childhood, like a lot of the Disney films, some of my favourites I'll probably keep. I don't have a Disney Plus subscription, so those are important for me to have. And I do like a lot of like the book adaptations, just because I like sometimes sitting down and reading a book and then watching the film and seeing what the differences are. So I will keep a lot of them, but I think I just need to be more intentional about it because I can probably store some of them not in my living room where it's very cluttered, and I can put them away somewhere else. Another thing is kind of like visual noise and also visual rest. A lot of people kind of say that you take on so many signals in your brain when you are seeing like busy stuff. So that's why like scrolling and seeing like multiple videos in like an hour can be very overwhelming compared to just sitting down and watching a film for an hour. And it's the same with your stuff. So if I go into a room and like 50 different things are happening and there's like your brain kind of signals what it needs to do in those situations. It's like, oh, I need to clean up this, I need to take that out, I need to go do this, that's reminding me to do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's one of the key things I need to do in my house is I just need to reduce that visual noise so that I have more rest and I don't feel
as overwhelmed, which is what I said at the beginning. So that's important to me. So I think making spaces functional and easy, but also making sure that I'm on top of tasks is important. So I think I've mentioned in my previous sections, like doing chores and just getting things done is important. And setting aside a time for that actually will help me in the long run, because I might walk into my kitchen and be like, I need to wash the dishes, but I'm like, oh, it's fine, I've already said I'm gonna do them when I finish work. So I don't need to do it in the middle of the day when I've just gone to get myself a cup of coffee, and it should hopefully help me feel more rested in the long term. And then another thing that someone pointed out is that I own my flat, and I think a lot of people rent, so it's more temporary, but this is my like long-term home. I might move in the future, I don't know yet, but me and my boyfriend might need a bigger place because, to be fair, you can see the room, it's not a huge place to begin with. So temporary versus long-term living is also a key factor here. Like, will I want to move with these things? Will I keep this for my next home? And there's just little aspects of that, like, I moved with a lot of books when I last moved into here, so yeah, I probably will move with all these books, but then are there anything that I'm like, if I get rid of them now, I don't have to move with them and get rid of them in like 5-10 years? So it's just little things like that which I just need to pay attention to. So my direction on home and environment is going to be, my main thing to declutter is going to be my wardrobe. And this is one, because I'm gonna have to do it for my boyfriend to fit his stuff in, and there's a pile there waiting for me to do, and two, just because I've kept putting it off because I kept saying I was gonna lose weight and fit into all these clothes, and I probably won't. Like, I'm not gonna fit into those clothes I had when I was 20 when I'm nearly 30, and I just need to get on with it and like deal with it like really head on. So decluttering my wardrobe is the main one for me, especially like this half of the year. And my key one here is like, if I can get it again, if I do eventually lose weight, I can just get it again. I'm not financially insecure enough that I can't do that, so I just need to be able to like be really strong with myself that I have to get rid of it. Another thing is bringing things into the house. So I've kind of already broken this rule because my boyfriend's moved in, he's brought his stuff, but then we've also gone, oh, we need this, we need that, oh, we should get this. He's already bought like multiple things for the house since moving in. But my key one here is specifically, I think, for clothes, makeup, skincare. I want to do kind of a 1 in 1 out rule. So I can buy a new moisturizer if I finish my old moisturizer. I can buy a new mascara when I finish my mascara. I can buy a new pair of jeans when my old jeans don't fit or have worn a hole in them or are just unwearable, but then I have to get rid of that pair. Like, I have to either donate it or put it in the bin, whatever's necessary, and hopefully that will make it feel a bit better. It will also help me with the kind of retail therapy spending. I think I do that a lot. I'm like, oh, I need this, I need that, and I'm like, I don't actually need all this. I also think a key one here is like budgeting, which I don't think I've got it on any of my sections. I don't have it on any of my sections, but budgeting is kind of a key one. I'm already quite good with finance, but I need to kind of relook at how I'm spending things and where I'm spending them. Currently my sections are like food or miscellaneous expenses, and I need to cut those miscellaneous expenses into kind of different areas, and there's definitely gonna be like a huge portion for books, but there's gonna be a lot of subscriptions in there, and then I think there's gonna be clothes and makeup and random things that I'm buying. And then my last kind of directional thing is, how do I make space feel shared and not crowded? So this is definitely going to be decluttering and like reducing my things, but I also think it's going to be like buying things together as a couple. So for example, one of the first things we bought was a new frying pan with a lid, because every single time we were cooking anything we were like, oh, we should put a lid on this. I did not have a pan with a lid, and so we just bought one when he moved in so that we would always have one. And then there's little things like making sure there's hooks on the wall for coats. Currently I just use my shoe rack door handle thing and I just put my coat on that, but that's only one hook and we now need at least two. Just making sure things feel like we both live here. I also think we'll eventually get new things like new desks. I don't know if you can actually see his desk, but my desk and his desk don't really fit near each other. I also have a radiator on the wall, so you probably need to reorganize where everything goes and make sure it fits. This might mean getting new things, which might mean getting new desks, new furniture, which maybe feels more coherent together. His desk obviously came from his old house, so it doesn't really match any of the other furniture, and like little things like that, which we just need to make decisions on together. So yeah, the main thing for home and environment is I've gone very deep on home, and I don't think I've gone enough on environment, which is also digital environment. So actually, let me quickly think of some ideas for that. Digitally, I want to be very much like Inbox Zero. I want to reduce the noise coming towards me from different areas, so that's reducing my newsletters. I probably want to unfollow some brands and some people who maybe don't make me feel good about myself. I think I might relook up the social media channels I do have. I will probably get rid of things like Facebook and X because I just don't use them and I don't need them. I do have things like Blue Sky and Threads, which are similar to X anyway, but I probably maybe don't need both. We'll see. And then I have Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and sometimes that feels like enough. So yeah, I definitely need to reduce social media. Inbox Zero is one of the ones that I need. And whilst we're talking about like inboxes, Gmail, G Drive, I need to go through all of my different places that I've saved. I think I've got Dropbox, G Drive, and then probably like a Microsoft. I don't think it's SharePoint for personal use, but I have a lot. But going through different services like that to kind of clear them out and get rid of things I don't need. And my direction here is specifically, I think, Inbox Zero is the main one. My emails are the worst, and social media. Bringing new things in, taking things out. Can that be applied to digital? I guess it could be. I mean, if I want to get a new social media platform, maybe I get rid of an old one. If I want to make my digital space feel shared, not crowded. Actually, a key one for that is building community is important. So one of the things I've actually been doing this year is like focusing less on like creating content for people, but more like creating content for me. I've already been doing that this year and I feel a lot better for it. I don't feel like I feel as stressed about posting the perfect thing, and I've already posted quite a few pieces of content which are just what I've been doing in the week, and I think people have seen that it's a bit different than previous content. So yeah, that's the thing. Community, not crowded. Sharing, not crowding the space. Okay, off the back of me doing my just do it section, I'm just gonna smash through the rest of my prompts, hopefully this evening, so that I can edit this video and put it up, because I'm already late posting it, but hopefully that won't be too bad because we've only done one episode, so no one's holding me too much to accountability. But this section was all about creativity and focus. And to be fair, in 2026, I've already started doing more things that are creative. So I'm going to do a lot of who am I now stuff about last year me or the previous year's me, just to make it a bit more realistic, because I have done a lot of creative things in the past few weeks, but that's not what I was doing previously, and I want it to be more of an honest life audit and also focus on what I should kind of continue doing as well. So the key one here is, how often do I take time for creativity? And it kind of depends on your definition of creativity. I don't spend a lot of time like drawing or painting or doing like actively creative things like that, but I do content creation, which is a form of creativity. My job is very creative in marketing, like I'm thinking of creative ideas a lot, and you know, there's little things like that where I'm like, okay, I am being quite creative, but a lot of it's forced. Whereas sometimes I just need to be creative to be creative, like I need to go and write, or I need to draw, or I need to craft something and like just kind of get out of my own head for a bit. So that's a key one for me, is, you know, I do have a creative job, but maybe I should do more creative things just for me. And then the key thing here is what distracts me from being creative, and that is obviously my phone, and also like the TV. I do also think one of the key things is like after a long day at work, where I have been technically being creative at work, I don't want to then use what little brain energy I have left on doing things at home. So often like I do just stop out on the couch and I watch TV or put a film on or scroll my phone, and I don't really do much after work. And actually that's one of the biggest things that's hindered my consistency with content creation, is that often I don't have the time
or the energy I should say, to do it after work. And then when it gets to the weekend, I'm just trying to rest and like do anything that isn't creative in order to go back and do creative stuff on the Monday. So yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one. I've got a new job now and I feel like that makes me, it's a bit more of a work-life balance, so I'm hoping that will get better anyway. But yeah, the key thing is screens and work are the key things that are distracting me. And then the last one is, I think I've already answered this prompt, but it's, do I create from pressure or enjoyment? In most of my day-to-day life, I create from pressure. I'm creating marketing campaigns for my job, and therefore it's important for me to do that because I need to get paid. I don't often do much for enjoyment. I should do more. I wish I did do more, and I think I've already started to do little things this year already. That's kind of pushing me towards it, but we'll talk about that in the next section anyway. Okay, in the who I want to be section, how do I want creativity to fit into my life? So the key thing for me is, when I was growing up, I had my aunt who is an artist. She did have a job, but her main thing was she was always finding ways to be creative, and she really inspires me a lot as a person, and I want to be more like her basically. I want to, you know, do paintings and drawings when I can. She used to do, like, she would go to art classes after work, she would go to art galleries. She had a home studio in her attic, which whenever I would visit I would always love going in and like just using all the supplies. So yeah, it's one of those things that I think has always been ingrained in me. Just as soon as I kind of hit adulthood, it kind of left because I just didn't seem to have the time. And I think finding the time to do that is important, whether that is after work or whether it is just like at the weekends. I've already started doing a lot of things here and there anyway. And then what does focus time look like for me? So the key thing here is like, focus and creativity go hand in hand. You often hit like a flow state when you're like drawing something and you get into the habit of it. But I also want to increase my focus time on other things. So it's not just about being creative, but being able to read for longer, being able to focus on a project for longer than half an hour before I pick up my phone and start scrolling. It's little things like that, and like increasing my focus time as well. And my focus time for me is just like being in the mode like to do something. I don't want to feel like I'm distracted by it. My key one here is like, I have been doing some more things. I already bought a craft kit from Craft Club Co, I think it's called. One of the things was a cross stitch. I did lots of cross stitch when I was younger with my family, so thankfully I already knew how to do that one. I also got a few other kits from them. One was embroidery, one was a rug making, one was a bag making. Those are all things I don't know how to do, so it might take a bit longer. But cross stitch I know how to do, so I have just kind of started on that. And my key one here was I was going to do one colour per day. And while some of the colours didn't take that long because there wasn't that many stitches to do, some of them took longer than others, and I think it was a really good way for me to just be like, okay, well, I'll do one colour a day, but I'll do one colour and then I won't do anything whilst I'm doing that colour. So I won't be checking my phone. I was watching TV normally when I did the cross stitch to kind of like habit stack, like doing something creative but also doing something that's like still one of my bad habits, but it helps me to kind of do it. And I think I did really well. I finished my cross stitch as well, so it's quite good. And then I have 2 more to do, so I'm going to continue on with that task to help increase my focus on creative tasks, and then I'll move on to things like maybe drawing and painting, which take a bit more focus but can be done probably at my desk, so I'll be away from the TV. I also want to make sure that like my creativity is a bit more inspired. So one of the key things I've been doing is I really want to go to more art galleries this year. I live in London, there's so many different galleries in London, so I did buy an art fund card, and one of the key things I'm doing is I'm going to push myself to go and be inspired by these works and then also do something about it. So I've already done, I think it's 3 exhibitions. I did Theatre Picasso, I did the Photographer's Gallery not that long ago, and then my last one was Radical Harmony, I think it's called, which is a neo-impressionist exhibition. I loved all of them. I haven't actioned afterwards, so I wrote notes on my phone about my thoughts, any painting. I took pictures of any paintings that I really enjoyed, and one of my key things is I want to do something that's artistic to do with each of those exhibitions. So whether that's painting something, sketching something. The Photographer's Gallery, I'm going to go and take some photos. I've bought some film and a little film camera, and just being a bit more creative in my day-to-day life, but also I don't want to get stuck into one little thing. I want to like do other things. And yeah, that's a key thing for me to help me be focused, is to be inspired. And then what kind of creative output actually excites me also leans into this. I like to have things that I physically have, and I think that's one of the key things is I didn't really like digital art because there wasn't really an output of me drawing on a tablet. Whereas if I do paint a picture or I take photos and edit it, there's like, I know the photos thing's a bit funny because it's kind of like digital art, but I feel like, I don't know, me taking photos, I normally would put them up somewhere, whereas with my artwork I wasn't doing that, so maybe that's also a different way of being output. But yeah, I just feel like making more things that I can actually physically see. Maybe at the end of the year I can be like, oh, I made this, I did this, I've been creative. I think that's important for me, and like having an actual thing, like tangible item to do. So I think with my actual like crafting stuff, obviously I'm going to keep that and like put it on a wall or something, and then with photos I might use like photo books and like actually have them as physical items if they don't clutter up the flat, of course. And then the key contrast prompt is going to be consuming versus creating. So I've talked a lot about creativity in terms of like crafting and artwork. I haven't really talked about writing or content creation, and I think consuming versus creating is the key one here, which is like I've done with the artists and the art galleries. I was gonna go and do these art gallery trips to consume different artwork to feel inspired, and I think I need to mentally shift how I look at social media. Instead of just consuming it to like entertain my brain, I need to consume it to get inspiration, whether that's direct inspiration for content creation, whether it's inspiration for artwork, inspiration for learning, inspiration for what books to read. And a lot of those things I do already. I already like look at lots of like photography accounts to make my photography better. I already have a lot of bookish accounts that I get book recommendations from, a lot of whom are friends. And it's not just about mindless consuming, it's about actually taking what I'm consuming and going, okay, well what does this do for me, and like how can I logically apply this to my life, versus just creating something from that. And then creating for me is like, I want to do things like write a book, I want to create more content, I want to create more crafts, and consuming should be not level with this. I should be creating more than I consume. And I feel like in some aspects that might not always be the case. Like writing a book compared to reading a book, it's always going to be heavily on the reading over the writing, I think. But I think this year I just want to push it more to the creating side. So my directions, I have 3 directions for this one as well. My first one is, what is my one creative non-negotiable? And for me this is, I want to do at least 2 or 3 days where I'm doing something creative just for me. So this might be writing, painting, crafting, lots of different things. But another thing here is like, I've also got the artist way thing, and I want to read more into that before I fully jump in, but I think that will also help me with that as well. My second direction is, do I have a boundary around focusing? And the key one for me is that I want to be able to focus more and do more activities where I'm not stopping to look at my phone. So reduced screen time, I think, is a measurable direction, and I want to do this for both work and personal life. And you can kind of track on Samsung anyway, you can track kind of when you're what times you're using your phone, and like it gives you like a tracker as well. So I'm hoping I can reduce that. And then my last one is one project to finish imperfectly, and I haven't really talked about it in this section, but one of my projects I want to do by the end of the year is to write a book. And whilst I've talked a lot about like crafting and painting and drawing and like all these other creative pursuits that have nothing to do with writing, I do think all of those creative pursuits will allow me to write a book, because it will hopefully improve my creativity in order to actually think about it more, but we'll see how it goes. And then the next section is, actually, to be fair, it's a really good segue, which is the next section is mental load and inner dialogue. And this is all about how in my head I sometimes am, and my negative self-talk. So who I am now is, how does my head feel? So on who I am now, it's how does my head feel most days at the moment. Again, I think I've already said this in one of my previous sections. I feel very like brain foggy and tired and fatigued. That's why I got my visible watch. And so yeah, I struggle quite badly with anxiety and depression. So it's not always great, but that mental load is kind of important because I have I work in marketing. It's an unnecessarily stressful job because marketing doesn't mean anything. And a lot of people do say in my industry, like, we're not saving lives. And we're definitely not saving lives, but sometimes the stress is kind of real and your body doesn't really react to stress properly. Like, you can sit there and be like, this doesn't mean anything, but your body is still sensing a lot of stress because you're trying to meet deadlines or people are not doing what they should. So my mental load is always quite high anyway from work, but then at home as well. Like, I need to kind of reduce the mental load and just be like, I just need to wash the dishes at this time, I just need to do this, I need to run on these days, I need to work out. And like, I think that's one of the key things is like, all of these things in my brain are going, I need to do X, Y, and Z all the time. And I think just getting them down on paper or in a calendar or in a time block and like getting them out of my head will actually reduce the mental load because I don't have to think about it as much. And that moves us nicely onto how do I talk to myself when I'm behind or I'm struggling. And I am really bad at being quite negative about myself. I'm very pessimistic in general, I'd say. I'm quite, like a lot of people would say, I'm quite moody anyway. So I'm quite mean to myself, insult myself a lot, and I think I am the person that's like, I'm asking a dumb question, I'm gonna ask a silly question. I do get told a lot, I'm like, there's no silly questions, there's no dumb questions. And now that I'm a manager, I do the same thing. I'm like, there's no dumb questions, there's no silly questions, until it comes to when I'm asking them, in which case they are dumb and silly. So I definitely need to work on that. And the key thing here is just taking time out of my day to pinpoint good things about me. And I think things like journaling, I've got the artist way over there, and like doing morning pages where you also like write about your day each day. There's also those gratitude journals. I'm probably not going to do that, but just picking out things. And I think specifically at work, like screenshotting when people compliment you or say that you've done a good job, or saving emails that are important when people are thanking you, and doing lots of different things that kind of make sure you know you're good at these things. That's important. And then the next who I am now part is what are my triggers for overthinking, anxiety spirals. My main ones here are work. As I said, it's my job, my industry. I can't really get away from it unless I want to like win the lottery or completely change my life, which I don't really want to do because I actually really do love my job. Another thing is nearly always my house. It's a good thing about what I said before about my home being welcoming and comforting. Another key thing is like I get triggered when it's messy and I feel like I don't have time to clean it. But on the other hand, I also feel stressed when I'm away from the house for too long. An example is like over Christmas. I get really stressed when I have to leave my house. Like my house is alone, and like especially around Christmas I was worried about someone like breaking in. So there's little things like that which I think I need to get out more, which is probably more of a reverse psychology thing. That is actually a key thing anyway. Like if I'm in the house all of the time, I do get a bit stir crazy. So just getting out of the house in general, but then also feeling like I don't need to worry about my house when I'm not here is important. I actually think having my boyfriend here will help because I know he's here to check on things if I need it. And then the prompts for who I'm becoming. One of the key things is, how does a calmer me look like and sound like? For me, it's just someone that can rest on my days off. That's a key one for me. I have a really bad habit of checking like work emails when I'm not working. I've been trying this year to do like my like 9 to 5 and then not checking my messages, but I'm not always good at it. But specifically on days that I've booked off, I do want to not check my phone at all. I think a calmer me probably feels more energized, and that kind of seems counterintuitive, but one of the key things I have is like I'll wake up in the morning, I'm very fatigued and I don't want to do things, and I think getting over that initial, I guess, fogginess in the morning is a key thing for me to feel like I'm calmer throughout the day, because that means I can actually do things in the morning and I don't have to feel like I'm constantly pushing them to lunchtime or after work and then to the weekend and then to the next week. So not pushing things to future me. And then, is there anything else that makes me feel like I'd be a calmer person? You know what? I know there's a big analog trend at the moment and I'm probably just leaning into it, but one of the key things for me is like doing less screen work, and it sounds really stupid when I'm looking at multiple screens, but I really do enjoy reading. That's my main hobby. I've started doing little craft projects and I've really enjoyed those, but just doing more things that are like not at a screen, even if it is like reading or watching documentaries, things that are like technically good for you. I do think doing it like analog with physical media, crafting, doing something with my hands is important. And I think that'll help me, I think, feel calmer because I'm doing things that aren't constantly overloading my brain with like new information. The second prompt is, how do I want to respond to stress? And I guess the key thing is like, I want to be less stressed, but I also want to respond to stress better. And the key thing for me is that I need to remove emotions. And I'm actually really good at advice for stress. As a manager, I tell my direct reports how to manage their stress, and then I just don't pay attention to it. But walking away from something stressful is a valid option. If something's really stressing you out at work, especially I work from home, it's quite easy, but just walk away. Just put your laptop down and step away from the screen for 5 minutes, go make a cup of coffee, cup of tea, get a snack, and then sit down and you will feel much better. So walking away is important, space is important. Nothing, very rarely is anything that important that you can't wait 5 minutes to reply to. The key thing actually is like physical stress, is I do need to move more and exercise. I don't know if you can tell in this video setup, but I am very tense, and like I get a lot of tense muscles around like my neck, the base of my head, so sometimes I get tension headaches. So one of the key things I do need to do is do like regular stretching of my neck to try and release that. And I guess it would be movement and exercise, but also things like massages, self-care, which kind of release tension. And then I think acknowledging stress. So one of the things that happened last year was that I basically burnt out, but the entire time I was absolutely fatigued, couldn't do anything. I wasn't actually stressed. I had a really stressful like first 4 months of the year, and then I finished the project I was on and I got to kind of breathe for the first time in forever. And that part of me when, okay, we're done, just was like, we're going to be really tired now. And I had to take some time off work. And I called my doctors and they were like, oh, you're probably just stressed. And I was like, but I'm not stressed because nothing's happening. Like, I'm taking time off work right now because my boss is like, you're fine, there's not much to do. And I wasn't actually stressed in that moment. But because I hadn't really acknowledged the stress I'd done the previous 4 months, basically it just burnt me out. And basically I need to acknowledge stress, write things down, and work through them. I think I read a book, I don't know if it's on my desk, I don't think it is. I read a book on burnout, and one of the key things is to complete your stress cycle. And it's a really interesting read because when you're stressed, it's a biological response. And it's like if you're being chased by a wild animal, you're stressed because you're trying to run away. Basically, instead of you running away and escaping, a lot of people just kind of freeze and don't do anything, and then the wild animal is still kind of there. But even if it goes away afterwards, because you've not done anything, you haven't completed the stress cycle. And I think I've described it really poorly compared to how the book did it. So I will put a link in the bio or put a picture here of the book and you can read it for yourself. But it's really interesting to know that a lot of people just don't complete the cycle, which means that stress is just building up inside of you and it's just not going anywhere. And you're getting more and more stressed, and then it's little things that kind of set you off. And I'm definitely at fault with that. Definitely. And then my last, like, who I want to be is what support systems can help me go forward. And I think the key one here is like journaling, writing down my feelings, but also exercise and movement. The decluttering I mentioned before should also help with like everyday noise, and that's decluttering both my house and digitally. Like I don't want to feel stressed about like how I look, and so following people that make me feel bad about how I look is probably not the best thing to do. So we're gonna stop doing that. We're gonna follow people who kind of create content that makes me feel better about myself, that makes me feel like I'm learning something, that's kind of more engaging in that way, rather than the constant barrage of like just unhealthy diets and clothes that aren't gonna fit me and little things like that. Oh, and then of course my boyfriend is my main support system because he now lives with me, so I can talk to him every day after work about everything that is stressing me out. And then if I say my boyfriend, I actually should say my friends. I have multiple group chats that I can chat to about everything, which I do already, but maybe leaning on them a bit more wouldn't harm me, I should say. So some of the things that we talked about before was things like mental load and all that noise. But the key thing here is also like putting things into clear priorities. So it's all good doing a to-do list, but if you're doing a to-do list for one day but you've got 50 items on that to-do list and all of those take 30 minutes to an hour, you're probably not going to do them all in one day. So instead of doing a to-do list, we do a running to-do list, and these have priorities and dates. So the key thing there is if you need to do something by a certain date, you're more likely to do it, and therefore making sure you do the mental load up front when you're planning your weeks or your months or your quarters. For some people, you don't have to like constantly worry about it. So for example, I know I have to invoice on the 6th of each month in order to get paid by the correct date, and therefore I know to do that by that date, and it makes me do it. But I also will schedule 3 months in advance because I know I'm going to get too busy and I'm going to forget to do it. But if I do it at the beginning of the quarter, it means I don't have to think about it as much. And scheduling like things like that where you're doing the same thing 3 times really does help. If you can do it. Obviously there's things like cleaning chores, like washing dishes. You can't wash the dishes 3 times and then it's fine for the week. You do have to do that kind of continuously. But things like little things like that and just trying to optimize it is important. Another thing I want to really focus in on for to-do list is time blocking. I have learned that I'm really bad at to-do lists that don't have a clear direction, but I know if I've done it, I think I've done it in this notebook maybe. Okay, I can't find it. It must have been in an old notebook. But I know that if I write down, for example on a weekend, if I write down my full day, like from 7 when I wake up through to 10 o'clock when I go to bed and read, and I can write down that I'm going to bed to read at that time. But if I do that and I go, okay, I'm going to wash dishes here, I'm going to have lunch, I'm going to meal prep, I'm going to read my book, I'm going to work out, I'm going to shower, all of those things, if I put them in a time, it motivates me more to do it rather than, oh, I just need to do that today. Because it's not the same for everyone, but my brain just, it kind of goes like, oh, I can just do that later. I can do that later. And that's a really bad, I think, habit that I have, which I need to get out of, which is I can't do it later. If I just do it now, I don't need to do it later. And future me does not need to do like 10 million things in one half an hour before bed. And that's a really important thing for me to do. It's just to like prioritize things and be like, just do it. Then contrast between harsh self-talk and neutral observation is important. So obviously I'm not going to be able to stop myself from thinking bad things, but I can logically object. So if I'm like, oh, I've gained weight, like that on itself is not a bad thing. Gaining weight is not important, but gaining weight and feeling uncomfortable in my body is a bad thing because I feel like I can't do the things I used to do, or I struggle to stand up because my knees hurt, and little things like that, which is definitely a little bit because of my age, but also because of my weight. But using a neutral observation to be like, okay, well, instead of saying, oh, I hate this, I can just be like, neutral observation is, okay, well, I know I need to work on my joint support and my mobility in my knees and my hips in order to improve this aspect of my life. And to do that, I can do these stretches and I can do these exercises and I can incorporate them into my weekly workouts. And I think just taking things as a more neutral tone is important, and then logically talking it out, like, why do you think that is important? Like, is there a reason? Is it like an internal bias? Is it society telling you? Is it like the news telling you? Is it your friends and family telling you? Like, why do you think that is important? And I do think I've gotten better at it than when I was like 20. My boyfriend's also very good at telling me like he likes how I look, so it's fine. And it's little things like that I think is important, just to push the thoughts away and kind of think logically about different things. It's definitely hard. Obviously, as human beings, we're naturally very emotional about things. But yeah, one of the things is important. And then my other thing is overthinking versus decision making. Instead of overthinking everything, which is really stupid because that's what I'm doing for this entire audit, I'm just going to make decisions. But that is also what I'm doing whilst doing this. I'm talking a lot, but the key thing here is that each of these sections I will have 3 clear directions, which is 3 decisions I've made to do better. And I'm hoping it works well, but we'll find out in a few weeks' time if it actually does help. So my direction for mental load is 1 mental habit to practice. My one mental habit to practice, I think the key one for me to do at the moment is to just do it and prioritize properly. And this is like, it takes into other accounts things to do, like time blocking and like organizing myself and routines and schedules and lots of other things that I've said before in different sections. But the main mental habit is to just do it. No one else is going to do it but me. And so if I need to wash the dishes, I need to wash the dishes. If I need to go for a run, I need to go for a run. If I need to do that project at work right now, I need to do that project at work right now. If I need to create a video, I need to go do it. Regardless of how I feel or if I'm wearing makeup or not, I need to go do it. And little things like that, I think it's important for me to just like make the decision to do it. The next direction is one thought pattern to challenge. And the key thing here, I think, is I want to improve my thought pattern around myself. And that's, I'm very good at thinking that I'm really good at work and things like that, but I need to be better at thinking that I am good at home. Like, I'm a fit person, I'm going to go for a run because I'm healthy and things like that. I just need to work on that. And that's very closely entwined with like the body movement section as well. And I think one of the key things there is like, I've grown up, I'm an indoor person, and this is bad because I keep saying I'm an indoor person, which means I'm more of an indoor person because of it. But a lot of people would say that I was lazy or that I was like not going outside enough, but that's just how I was brought up. And also like I enjoy, a lot of my hobbies are indoor hobbies, and like reading isn't a bad hobby to have. It just means that I'm not, you know, going for like runs or doing sports outside, and therefore it's not bad, but it's different. And I need to take a lot of those words that probably are ingrained in me, that I'm kind of lazier than other people, and be like, I'm not lazier, I have different priorities, but I do still want to do more movement in order to be healthy. I don't need to run a marathon or go do loads of sports every week. I just need to do like a little bit more, and then I can stay at home with my books and like do the things I love doing. And then the final direction is clear one way to externalize my thoughts. And I know I said I was going to do like time blocking and stuff for the just do it prioritizing to-do list, but the key one here is going to be just journaling. I have a notebook and I could journal in my notebook, but I struggle, I think, to write longhand with my thoughts and feelings, so I might kind of skip between doing longhand morning pages with the Artist's Way thing that I want to do, and also just journaling on my notes app on my phone. I think it's quite important just to externalize different things, like, oh, I'm going through something, let's just write down exactly what I'm going through and think about it logically, and just doing little things like that. So yeah, that's how I'm gonna do that phone and book, and it's gonna be good, I hope. Okay, so that was a lot to film just today, not including the previous days that I've been filming. So this is probably a long video, and I'm really, really thankful to anyone who's watched it this far in. The key thing here is I don't have all the answers. A lot of my things that I've wrote down are kind of like ideas. They're not super strict. I just have a direction I'm going to move in, and if that direction changes, it changes. The main thing here is like I found a lot of patterns. There are a lot of aspects where I thought about them individually, but then they reminded me of something I said for the previous segment, and I really enjoyed that, even if it probably made this video quite difficult to watch. But yeah, I'm not trying to become someone new, I'm just trying to improve my direction before I turn 30 and just trying to be a bit more aligned. So yeah, next episode I think I'm going to be doing something a bit more workable, a bit more specific, so hopefully I will see you for the next episode. Thank you for watching.